please feel free to let us know. But with that, I wanted to pass it off to Alejandro and Erfan here. They are coming to us, both data engineers from Workpath and Airmaster, and we actually met through their Substack, which I will be sharing in our chat now. So if you want to keep up to how they're building, the things that they're seeing from their industry, and keeping up with the latest, please feel free to check out their websites here. But with that, Alejandro, Erfan, please take it away.
Sure. Thank you. All right. Can you see my screen, everyone?
Yes. Thank you.
Yes, beautiful. Yes. Thank you so much. Yep. Hello, everyone. First of all, thank you so much, Nij and OpenMetadata team for inviting us. Welcome to today's OpenMetadata community meetup. Alejandro and I are excited to share our learning and experience, mostly hands-on experience with OpenMetadata tool. And for those who don't know me, my name is Erfan. I'm a data engineer and architect. I began my career as a data analyst and moving to analytic engineer and data engineering over the past 6 years. As Nick mentioned, I write also on my Substack called Pipeline2Insights about data engineering fundamentals. My friend Alejandro is a senior AI and data engineer and founder of Pipeline and the Line Substack. He writes on tutorials on modern data engineering and AI. And this session builds on our first collaboration that we had on Substack around open metadata and MCP. And today we are here to share our experience with you and the community. So hope you all enjoy. What we're going to cover in this presentation or session is first we start with the new stakeholders. When we say new stakeholders, whom do you think we mean? You can just pop up your questions in the chat or so. Actually, what we want to, the message that we want to present or we have is that there is no longer just data analysts or visualization specialists or even dashboards that are the consumer of data. Now we have AI agents that are now consume our data and they rely on metadata, not intuition. Alejandro will explain more in details about that. Then we're going to talk about our project overview, what tools beside open metadata we use, why we use it, how we build that, and then we talk about some of the use cases we experiment with open metadata MCP server, like impact analysis, how change of schema might impact the downstream, whether our data or our model is ready to be used for an AI agent, and of course, glossary management, which, for example, we have a term that can have a meaning in marketing, but can have a different meaning in finance, and we want to see how MCP can help us to improve these kind of like documentations and so on. Over to you, Alejandro.
Thank you, Erfan. Okay, let's talk about these new stakeholders. As Erfan mentioned, we as data engineers specifically, if someone is not a data engineer here, and let us know in the chat, because we can adapt this part of the conversation for any of you. But basically, for technical data roles, we spend a lot of time preparing data, cleaning data, extracting it, and putting it somewhere to make it available for analysts, probably, to make it ready for decision makers, such as customers, executives, or managers who are using these BI assets. But right now, things have been changing quite a lot. I would say 2025, of course, 2026, and probably 2027 will be really intense years in this sense, because we start moving from preparing data for these analysts or these stakeholders, consumers, to AI, to LLMs, to agents, to MCPs, as we're going to see in a little bit. And things start shifting because before, if something was undocumented, there was knowledge who lived that, sorry, not who lived, that lived in minds and not in actual documentation. You would ask, you will try to chat with someone in a company if that person was still there, and try to learn how to close the gap between any missing points you are dealing with your data. But if you try to expect that from AI, you will probably fail a lot, because it will try to hallucinate whatever is missing. That's why metadata becomes the real interface right now, the real missing gap between all the company knowledge and all the things that AI needs to perform properly. So that changes also the way we measure success and the way we measure quality. It's no longer whether the data is complete, there are no nulls, there are we are matching all the expected values for a column or something like that. That's still okay, but now we need to add the other layer, which is this ready for AI agents to consume it with everything they need in the context to make it the best way possible. So yeah, we will share the links in the chat in a second. So don't worry about that. Erfan. So basically, what we are going to be doing here, this is covered in the Substack article that we co-author with Erfan. The repo also is there that we're going to share. What we did is a demo project to try to simulate a production setup as much as possible, where we combine Postgres, dbt for all the data transformation, Metabase for the BI, all that ingested through OpenMetadata. We use the YAML ingestions just to make it more technical friendly for data engineers and data platform engineers. And we plugged all that into MCP servers with Cloud Code, which is the one that we use for this project, to interact not only with OpenMetadata MCP, but also with Postgres MCP to have a full end-to-end understanding on how to discover data assets and how to use them properly when trying to do anything that you want on top of the metadata. Erfan, you can continue.
Yep. Amazing. Thank you so much, Alejandro. Now that you're familiar with the tech stack we use, we want to share 3 use cases. We actually experiment more, but for this presentation, we bring 3 use cases. Feel free to check the GitHub repo Alejandro mentioned. But yeah, let's start with the first one. Imagine we want to rename a column called total conversions in the campaign performance model in dbt. Before making this change, I want you to think about a few questions. What downstream models will break? How long do you think it takes to answer this? Most teams can name a few, but rarely all of them. Another question, which dashboard or reports are impacted? Usually this is where confidence drops and people start, all right, we need to check documentation and so on. Go back, look at the dashboards. And are there any hidden dependencies we don't even know about? And this is the real risk we may face. Traditionally, answering these questions means manually checking dbt models, dashboards, documentation, if it exists, and asking people on a Slack. But instead, why not ask one simple question using MCP, OpenMetadata MCP, and that can be, what is the downstream impact of changing total conversion in the campaign performance? And as you can see, Here, we use Cloudy Code. It actually reviews DBT lineage, use OpenMetadata MCP for further into lineage tracking, and builds a report for impact analysis. Without this MCP, as I mentioned, someone needs to go and check. Even they check, sometimes they might forget to check some other things and would have silently break the link dashboards on here for our case, Metabase, which was our dashboard solution. Now, let's look at two more use cases which Alejandro explains to us.
So one thing that I wanted to mention here, well, you will notice if you check the repo, but we try to wrap these use cases into cloud skills, so it's kind of quite quick to reuse them in any of your projects. The original article was not including skills because they were not a thing when we wrote the article, but it has been updated. So it could also help to discover ways of using the OpenMetadata MCP at other scale rather than just telling it to call the tools in isolation. I wanted just to mention that quickly because it was not clear. So regarding this second use case, we talk about AI readiness. Could mean a lot of things right now. It's kind of a sexy concept these days. But we were trying to make here is to enable AI readiness from a DBT models perspective. So it's not only about having documentation in all the YAML files and having all the columns explained and all that kind of thing, but also being able to make the AI client, in this case, Cloud Code, to use the tools at its disposal to discover use cases, caveats, anything that should be considered, any issue that's not easy to fix, but it should be taken into account, and populate those DBT models YAML files with this information. So when we re-ingest that into OpenMetadata, we will get a way more enriched output. Can you go to the next one, Erfan? So as you can see here, we are running the skill. In this case, it's metadata AI readiness. It's asking for a particular model. Of course, it will look for the columns, for descriptions, but in this example in particular, it's combining also the database MCP. This could work for any other database that you have an MCP for, BigQuery, Snowflake, or any other. And it's using that MCP in particular to run queries to fully discover what's missing. And when it's discovering something, it will prepare it for the documentation. So if you go to the next one, Erfan, please. When it has the non-discovery output, it will suggest how to populate with some known issues and other use cases, other things to consider into the DBT models documentation. So when you re-ingest everything, you will land on OpenMetadata. This is the first part of the journey. The second will be actually using an AI agent to query this information. And if any problems happens while doing that query, it will have this enriched context for that column, for that particular table to query. So this is a good example of a use case to combine more than one MCP to make the population of OpenMetadata's assets even more enriched. This one is Erfan mentioned earlier about the glossary, the terms, these concepts that are in the company's knowledge, but we don't have maybe a super documented alignment on what they are. So in this case, we use AI to discover those concepts and prepare a glossary to populate OpenMetadata based on what we have, in this case, in the DBT project. Instead of starting from the data governance step and manually decide everything, we go backwards. Based on this reverse engineering, we generate this enriched glossary. Go to the next one, Erfan, please. So we could have definitions for everything we want. In this case, of course, it's just an example, but this project is particularly targeted for a marketing analytics dataset. So anything related to conversions, cost per clicks, campaigns, attribution, that kind of knowledge is in this DBT project. So basically what we are doing here with the glossary create skill, we are using Cloud Code to scan all the project, come up with these glossary terms, build a plan to create the glossary for the domains that we want to, and start making these parent and child relationships of the different glossary terms, all from DBT project, YAML files, and then go into OpenMetadata, still using the MCPs for everything. The good thing about this particular use case is that you can you can use it the other way around to discover still anything that's in OpenMetadata and try to keep in sync whatever is in the project. If for any reason the project is not fully up to date with what's on the platform. And you can continue, Erfan.
Beautiful. Thank you so much, Alejandro. I hope everyone is really enjoying so far. May I ask Nick how much more time we got?
Yeah, you're free. Please keep going. Yeah, this is
Sure,
great.
sure. Yeah. Thank you so much. Yeah. Now that in the last two slides, I just want to share what have been working on using OpenMetadata in my company. I work in Airmaster. It's an HVAC company in Australia and New Zealand. They provide, we provide services, maintenance, installation of air conditioning and air solutions for commercial buildings and fire as well. And in terms of the data we got from customers, costs, labor, material, supplies, and even the data that are coming from BMS, the building systems. When I joined Airmaster, we actually started working on some greenfield projects. However, there wasn't any kind of like official data catalog. There were only a few people who know what is happening in terms of the databases, data sources. One knows what is only a specific ERP system. One knows the internal application data, and so on. Also, what happened is we had to spend lots of time asking different people, following up different people, and they were all busy to understand what is happening, which tables or sources we need to use. And that's actually like a good part of that. Once you get access or you know what sources you use, another step is to all right, deep dive into the tables, columns, understand the calculations, understand the names, the naming conventions, and imagine how long it takes to go through it just to explore data and see whether we can address the business problems or not. And of course, since we having the migration and there wasn't any document, so there were some risks around that, which we needed to consider. You might ask, all right, so why you choose OpenMetadata? Before talking about any tool, I would like to say that first, we try to define our data strategy, how our data governance, and how we want to address these kind of issues. And based on that, we start looking for a tool that we can use. And we all know that there are like a lot of tools, but after our validation, exploration of OpenMetadata, it ticked all the boxes that we were looking for. It's modern, has lots of features. The UI also is great. We can like implement all the connections either through UI for those people who are not familiar with programming, or for data engineers who actually like to work like more do coding and focus on like infrastructure as code, and got a lot of capabilities. So we were looking for something lightweight that we can quickly start implementing. Open source. We all are fan of open source, and the community Open Metadata Hub is great. Like whenever you got questions, you can ask. And yeah, so just make sure you check Open Metadata documentation. Has a great documentation, and maybe can be a right tool for you as well. And yeah, so what we've been doing, or what we have done with Open Metadata so far, and is continuing, because this is nothing one-off project. So far we've been able to define the ownerships for some part of domain that we've been working on. Now there are more than only one or two people that work that knows what is happening in our data lifecycle in terms of metadata and governance. Of course, we don't need to spend more time to discover what we are looking for. And another benefit is now we are preparing for migrations. It helps us. And we've been talking about the AI part as well. And as you know, if you don't have good documentation, good metadata, good data governance, the AI agents or whatever AI initiatives we start working on, it might not work. So this project I did with Alejandro gave me some good experience that I start working on MCP server for a company to improve the metadata to provide better experience. However, still we need to focus more on having a good metadata, well-documented metadata. So still exploring. And I guess that's it. I just want to say thank you all for coming to this meeting and for your time, especially Open Metadata, Nick, Daniela, and the rest of the team who supporting us. And I'm not sure if we have got some time to ask questions, but over to you, Nick. Thank you so much. I'm sorry for going above the time.
No, that was great. Thanks for sharing. Thanks for sharing those cloud skills, and also it was great to hear some of your experience